All right, everybody. Hey, welcome. If you're watching the recording, thank you so much for doing that. Today we have Serena and Tim's going to join us. We are on Twitch, we're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn Live. So if you're watching us in one of those places, thank you so much. If you're not, well, then you're not. I don't know. There's just really nowhere to go from there. But Serena, we've been talking about this for a while. You know, what we're going to do today is we're going to do a walkthrough of one of the Cyber Range challenges. And Tim's going to be here, and Tim doesn't know why he's here. He just volunteered. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll be there. And
I just
like,
put my name on a form.
Yeah, you did. You just put your name on a form. We're like, all right, here, you're going to be here. But Serena, you're going to do a walkthrough of a Cyber Range challenge. And the reason why we're doing this is because...
Me? Oh, I was really thrown off that you didn't do the countdown. So I was like, what's happening?
I don't have a countdown for this one. Like, I guess we could use the same count. Oh, give me 1 second.
Oh, no.
There we go. So we did we forgot. So what happened is Ryan is the person who makes all the videos work. He makes the links work. He makes the stuff work, the schedules work and everything. And we were launching. He's like, it's just a reminder, I'm on PTO. And I was like, son of a, it's fine. Have a good time. Enjoy your vacation. But Serena, let's go ahead and share your screen and we're going to do the walkthrough. And John might join us because at some point he was like, hey, can I get the link to join? So it looks like your screen is there. I'm going to go ahead and hit the button, and here we go.
All right. Can everybody see? It'll get up. Oh, there we go. That's better. Okay. Awesome. So on the Cyber Range here, we're going to be going over, starting this Wednesday and every other Wednesday, a challenge from the Cyber Range that is going to be retired so that we can offer new challenges. So the one that we're doing this week is Careless Redirects. And then I think we're going to announce it like a week ahead of time so that you have time to do the Cyber Range challenge yourself. If you would like to, make sure to do it before the stream so that you can get full points for it. So let's go ahead and do the walkthrough now. Now that everybody's here, there's no pressure whatsoever. So here's Careless Redirects on MetaCDF. We're going to go to this link here where it says I stumbled across a white paper about security of Internet of Things.
And Serena, this one's a 100-point question, right? Like it's not.
I don't know if I think it was more points before.
Yeah. Oh, we've already nerfed it then.
Yeah. I think it was more. I think it was like maybe 300 points before, and now it's 100 points.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to check. All right, thanks. Sorry. Carry on.
No worries. Oh, and that reminds me to mention that if you do get the points and we retire the question or the problem, you'll still be able to keep your points. So, all right, cool. Jonathan says that it was 375 before.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a good one then.
Yeah, and I thought this one was super interesting. So here you basically just have this website, find some interesting stuff like this link, going through like the white paper, like this doesn't give me anything really, which is good sometimes to read, like if it does give you information, because a lot of times if you're going through these challenges or CTFs, there might be hints somewhere in there that might help you. But we see this like file share, like your files, and then there's file share, and it basically just pops up with this like DecaCorp file share. I don't have permissions to access those files. So it says like, please go back to the SSO portal and log in with your employee account. I don't have an employee account, so I have to get one. And then it says, please contact admin at decacorp.com. And then it also gives me information here that I'm logged in as a demo at decacorp.com. So them saying like, here's our admin login, like that's, you already have half the puzzle, right? Which is like, great. Now I have the admin accounts and I know what I'm currently logged in as. Now here I have Burp running in the background, and you can use Burp on Windows. Right now I have this in a Kali VM, mainly because I have like one of those ultra wide screens and I could just share like my computer screen because it would look bad. So I'm doing this in a VM. But you could do it on Windows, Mac, or like Linux, whichever you prefer. So here I'm already using the HTTP proxy. And like, you know, just starting to poke around here, we can see hosts, meta problems. We see, you know, a port number here. We see cookie sessions. And then some of these things you're going to probably ignore, like this font stat, Q static, and all that. So you just like kind of figure out like what information are we already getting from them. We have this PHP, just kind of collecting this information. I'm going to make this like a little bit smaller here. So let's like click on this SSO portal. And it says DecaCorp SSO, you're currently logged in as demo. It has the option to log out, but then it kind of gives you like these available apps as well. So I kind of go back to Burp here, and you see that we have like some more options to kind of like just sift through. So let's say I'm just going to keep logged in as demo, like as DecaCorp. There's like a couple of things that you could do at this point. So I don't know, log out and try and log in with the admin email that you have. And, you know, maybe you try to brute force the password or, guess some common ones. I kind of want to I like to click all the links so that I kind of know what we're already like looking at and all the options that we have. So I'm going to just like click HR portal here. And then like, it's basically saying, hey, we don't have permission. So now we can see we have, more little requests and responses, cookie session. Now here we can see things like this router.php, active action, SSO. Here we see, which is interesting, login.php. We see username, demo at DecaCorp, and then we have key here. But there's nothing there, which is interesting.
Yeah, that almost looks like it's saying key and then HTTP version. That looks weird.
Yeah. And so some of these other options are gonna have where you have like the full login information. A lot of these other ones, let me see if I can find one here that offers, let's see here. This has this email, authenticate email, and then we have a secret.
And that's right inside the get parameter. That's not in post. That's right in the URL.
Right. And then here we have username and password. So the one that we found here is, let me see where I can find it again. Here, this login PHP username, demo at DecaCorp with key. So I guess what we could try, and I'm going to send this to repeater here.
And by the way, just so people know, like Repeater allows you to edit this request and then resend it, correct?
Yeah. So basically I send it to Repeater, and the way that I did that, in case you aren't familiar, is I just right clicked. Well, you can do it two ways. So you can right click it here and then say send to Repeater. I right clicked it here and hit send to Repeater, and then once you go to Repeater, like the little tab up here, you can see the request and then the response option. So
And this is the free version of Burp you're using, right? So if somebody's watching this and they're like, "Oh, I got to spend money on Burp," that's not true. This is the free version, correct? That comes with Kali.
yeah, I don't have the key or like I know I could like I just don't have
You
the
just
free
have to
version.
ask. I approve everything.
I know. I know. I don't know. I haven't needed it yet, and I'm like a procrastinator, so I haven't needed, like, there are good features, but like Burp on its own without the paid features is also really like awesome and offers a lot of things. So anyway, so what I'm gonna do here is go to Intercept and turn Intercept on, because I want to catch that request again. And obviously there's a couple different ways to do this, so it's whichever your preference is. So if I click HR portal, I'm going to go through and just like forward through the request, because there's going to be multiple requests here, right? So forward until we find the one that didn't have the key. So what I'm going to do is switch it to admin instead of demo, which we were already logged into, and we're going to keep key blank, and then we're going to forward through until it's done. And there you go. We were able to log in without the key, and then we got our flag. Ta-da!
That's pretty funny. So, it's funny, this particular type of vulnerability, we can now open it up for questions
Yeah.
now that you got the sneaky redirect troublemakers. So, what's interesting about this is the first time I ever saw this, the gentleman behind DEF CON parties, Sorobo, he actually was able to do something very similar with this, with wedding website where people could go through and plan a wedding and set it all up, and they could chat with each other and everything. And he was able to jump into other people's weddings, and he was able to post messages on those messages on those weddings as well. And I remember it was kind of mind blowing looking at it. It's like, holy crap! It's like the secret trick to just bypass authentication.
Yeah. Yeah, this one was fun. But also it kind of shows you like how much you can do with just Burp on its own and just looking through requests. You don't really need to do any fancy brute forcing or password cracking or anything like that. Just by looking at these requests, you can learn a lot about how things are interacting on the back end. I
And
like
do you
that in the chat we're arguing about how to pronounce Cali, because I say Cali and I know you pronounce it
You say
differently.
Kali, I say Kali.
Yeah.
So, we all say it different. It's one of those things. I find a lot of people that make fun of how people say things, looking at you, and you know who I'm talking about, are people that haven't been around very often in the world. It's like you go to Boston, it's different. And, Midwest, it's different. You go up to
Yeah.
Fargo. Yeah, you betcha. It's a little bit different up there.
I call it
You get to South
Kali.
Dakota. So,
Yeah, Cali is definitely like, I don't know, because in the Midwest, like our A's are always just like like all the time. So I think that makes sense for like Midwest. But then I heard you say it and I'm like, have I been saying it wrong all this time?
No, just assume that I mispronounce things. And we'll just go with that.
Yeah.
But also with this particular challenge, so if you go back to the parameter that you had to modify to actually get there, what was it that caught your attention on that? Like, so I have a lot of people, like we do demos and things like that, and they're basically like, well, how the hell did you know what you had to modify? What kind of got you that that's what you had to change?
Mainly, I just looked through all of the, I don't know, what's the right thing to call this? All these
All
request
the logging,
messages.
like you basically went through the authentication steps and
Yeah, and
forwarded each of those. You basically were just kind of focusing on just that point, right?
Right, exactly. Of course, you try other things in these process. So I feel like I want to say that, I did this before. Oh gosh, I'm echoing now. Let's see. I did this before doing this live, right? So you're gonna go through some trial and error and like process of elimination, like, hey, this thing doesn't work, this thing works. I kind of showed you like the quick easy button on how to do it. But like maybe you do try brute forcing or try common passwords or other things like that. But here, like I just wanted to look through the authentication. So anytime I saw something that was like this authentication, because I was like, oh, maybe this has the same password. Maybe I could do admin, and then maybe the admin password is the same as the demo password. Like there's just so many different like things that you can try. And then I looked through, and it took me a while to find the one where it says, oh, there's no key here. And that can trip you up because it's like key and then password or like secret. And so they're using all these different things. So I'm like, which is which and what's being used for what? Like, so that was definitely interesting.
And what are some of the mistakes that you ran into, or to just go through the walkthrough like I do, that we get from Roman? What are some things that you kind of like kind of beat your head on that?
We get a walkthrough from Roman?
You didn't know that? Like he will literally give you a full step-by-step walkthrough.
Nope, didn't know that. I was like concerned about these. I was like, I'm gonna have to do these in advance so I like can solve them before the stream.
Yeah, I'd like you to do other things with your time, like yell at Cloudflare. Which makes you sound old. Like, here she is yelling at Cloudflare again.
Yeah.
Yep.
With an onion on your belt. So, all right. So the other thing I think Leonardo brought up that I thought was really good said, if it's a parameter, change it and see what happens. And I think that, whenever you're looking at like the commercial version of Burp and Zap, it does that, right? But it's actually trying to put real attacks in those strings. And I haven't tried to hit this with a vulnerability, like something like Zap automated scan. I don't think it would have caught this vulnerability. Right?
Yeah.
Tim?
And like you said with the
I'm the last person you need to ask about web vulnerabilities, but I don't think it would have.
Welcome to the live stream. So, but yeah, this is one of those things where like this is where automated tools kind of start to fail with this type of thing. I think is kind of fun.
So
there's Jason.
I did want to say thanks to Kaizen Sky 7 for following, Naughty NZ for following, Sam Lamb 17.
He's so quiet. His mic is so quiet.
Is it really quiet? Oh, man.
Yeah, it sounds really far away.
No. Is it the right mic? Oh, jeez.
So, but no, thanks for subscribing, y'all. We appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, you should, because Serena's going to be bringing the technical fire from the mountain.
Yeah. Like just wanted to point out like other things that you could do too is just trying to completely remove the secret and see if it would accept nothing there, removing cookies, adding cookies, swapping them. Like there's so many things that you can try out. Which I did and failed obviously, but the way that I did that was just going through and changing the one request that didn't have a secret or a key or anything like that.
Now, Bramblethorn84 said, I think they kind of picked up on something that I picked up on. Like, I was like, what? And kind of talking about that. If you see auth using get, the devs don't understand HTTP and you're likely to find fun things. I don't know if it's necessarily always a train wreck, but it seems like it's a good indication that it might be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So... automated tools help discover this time. No. I wouldn't even say that the automated tools need help. I think that their purpose in life is different. Serena, tell me, I don't know what your thoughts are. Like their purpose is looking for well-known vulnerabilities. And when you're looking at business logic errors or redirects, you're kind of looking at how the app itself is functioning. And I don't think that a lot of the automated scanning tools are all that good at detecting it.
Yeah, I think especially with just like business logic errors, which are personally like my favorite thing to find, I think that it's like, well, it's doing exactly what it's set up to do.
Yeah.
But the way that it's set up just like left this kind of open vulnerability that's not necessarily something that would I mean, it would be difficult to find. Like, how would you program that into like an automated scanner? Because every environment that you're scanning is going to be like a little bit different. It might not be the same exact thing on a, on a different implementation. So,
and also going back to Leonardo's comment again about, if you see a parameter, manipulate it. But I think to kind of tweak that a little bit, so whenever you're doing a test on a web app, one of the things that we always ask for at BHIS, and this is one of the things that BB teaches in his class, is where you have that email parameter. I think somewhere on the web page, it says contact admin at Decacorp. I think it was there. There it is. Admin at Decacorp. It was one of those things right there.
Yeah.
One of the things that you always need to have when testing a web app is multiple different user IDs. And we're not talking about like a black box web application assessment. We're talking about a good, thorough crystal box web application assessment. And you want to have multiple different user IDs so you can try this kind of, this crossing of user IDs, crossing of files, crossing of access, crossing of boundaries. Because a lot of web apps just have really, really incredibly poor enforcement of boundaries for the user IDs that are out there as well. Tyson was asking, could you further explain the reasoning behind auth using GET requests or point to the resources for novices to learn more? Once again, I don't know. I'd love to get you all's opinion on this, but for me, a lot of that authentication in modern web apps is in a post request.
Yeah.
And when I start seeing it in a GET parameter, that starts to make me uncomfortable. It starts to feel like a web application from like 2010, 11 timeframe. And it's no other reason other than that, honestly. It's just kind of tells me that there's some old school development practices. And I honestly don't know of any hard and fast rule that you should never do that. It just feels ugly to me. Tim, Serena, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so not being a very strong web guy, that was one of those things that just stood out to me as like, this just looks wrong because I'm so used to seeing authentication as a post. Not necessarily as like, oh, this is exactly why it's wrong or whatever, but it goes back to definitely something I would have seen years and years and years ago, not so much in modern frameworks and things like that. So that was that was the biggest thing that stood out, was like, that is a GET request. I would anticipated it being a post, and that would have been the reason I would have tried to dive down and kind of take the Serena.
Yeah. And Bramblethorn brought up another great point. He said that GET requests are for things that don't modify the state of the app. Post is for modification of the state. And just so you all know, yeah, that's what it's supposed to be, but that's not how literally anything freaking works. There's all kinds of things that get thrown in post. There's all kinds of things that get thrown in GET. And also encoding. That would be another thing that we see a lot of modern apps do, is instead of having like the user ID in clear text, they'll do something like base64 and code it and just put it in as like some type of parameter, session parameter. So we spend a lot of time decoding. And to be fair, there are challenges in MetaCTF where you have to do that, where you have to do a variety of different decoding tricks. And luckily for this one, you didn't have to, because it was kind of right there in front of you. And how many people had solved this one? You said 370 had solved this one on the Cyber Range before?
I don't actually know.
I can pull it up. Hold on. Just give me a second and I'll give you an idea.
I can solve this one and get double points because I already solved the original.
So I've had to stop solving challenges in my class because it makes them go away for me. It's just like, oh no, I needed that back because I need to set it up later.
I think they're at the very bottom. Yeah, they're at the very bottom once you solve them.
Edit problems. Here we go. Okay, so we got ZZZ retired careless redirects. And if I go into that, it's 375 points. Wow, this one has a really good write-up for it. Down below the steps, they did a good job on that one. Attempts, like it says 50. So there was 50 people that are actually able to solve this one. Associated.
Someone in the chat had also asked if there is any cookie-based ones, and it looks like
there's a bunch.
Cookie catastrophe, which is 200 points.
There's find the target cookie name. Steal the Cookie with cross-site scripting, Cookie Catastrophe, are ones that just have cookie in the name alone. So all right. Also, Bramblethorn brought up a fantastic point. Get requests with parameters are going to end up in the logs somewhere, which actually opens up another security vulnerability. We were doing a test against a very large provider of internet services, and we were able to read the log files by doing the // and we were able to go into var and then dump the logs off the server. And originally the customer was like, oh, that's not that big of a deal. It's a bunch of logs. I mean, we want to fix it, but how bad is it? You would be surprised just how many times people put their password in their user ID field. We were able to pull that down as well. What date was this Meta CTF from? I think we retired it, yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I think today.
Oh, it is retired today. So you can still go through, y'all, and you can still do this challenge, and you can do the step-by-step walkthrough exactly as Serena. Even if you're watching this recorded on YouTube, you can go in and you can solve this challenge. No problem, no muss, no fuss. You're only going to get 100 points for, but it at least is a walkthrough, so you can play with it. What are our favorite challenges? Let's open this up to like overall CTF challenges. Do you all have any challenges that kind of stuck with you? You're like, that's one that I liked quite a bit.
I think it's thundering here.
What? Rain in Dallas? You lie.
Yeah, I was like, it sounds, I don't know. Anyway, my dog's probably scared. I really like some of my favorite challenges are upload vulnerabilities, like file upload vulnerabilities. I think
so. You can upload like a shell, you mean?
Yeah, I love doing like those are like really cool because you can do a lot of different things with upload vulnerabilities. Like just if they don't have like a size limit or messing around with the extensions to like bypass if they do have any kind of like file filtering methods. I like I think upload vulnerabilities are my favorite.
Tim?
My favorite was going to be a two-parter. So I generally don't enjoy web challenges, but if they include a post-exploitation privilege escalation on the box, I tend to enjoy those. And then also like simple stack-based overflows are always fun. Binary exploitation is probably not for everybody, but it's something I enjoy.
See, my favorite is format string vulnerabilities. And there's a couple of reasons why I really like format string vulnerabilities. One of they're really easy to identify with like, %x, 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 %x. And if it starts dumping memory, you now have access to memory. And then actually utilizing %d to get the perfect number to where you're overwriting the return pointer with %n to make it flip over. It's just, there's not a lot of people that know how to do format string vulnerability attacks. And I had to teach it for 15 years. And it's just one of those things that for a lot of people, it's like, it seems like black magic. And then the other reason why I like it is ANSI C89, whenever you're actually identifying a format string, is only checking for like one parameter. And you really need to identify with like the size and the data type itself. Otherwise, anything you put in like %s, %x, %d, %n, will be interpreted and processed for that user input. And for me, those are my favorites. I love format string vulnerabilities. So those are my things. What else? Insta commands on Meta CTF caused White Cyberduck PTSD. I thought that was pretty good. From a CTF, low privilege user was able to execute Nmap as root. Nmap also has an interactive shell. That would be a cool one too. That would be a cool one. Yeah, you're up. I can hear you.
Is it better?
No, you got to pull it in.
Oh,
do you have it on the mushroom?
Yeah, I have it on the mushroom. Dogfort, thanks for subscribing. That's awesome. Lang Wildgert. Thank you so much for following. And Super Normal, thanks for following.
That's suspicious. I don't know. So, all right. So I've got a question, Serena, for you. Like, I know I mentioned Cloudflare and I had someone hit me up. They're like, what's going on with Cloudflare? So I'm going to throw it over to you. What's going on with Cloudflare? Who now won't sponsor anything that we do ever again, but whatever.
I always have to think about that too. Making those decisions to I've always kind of come to people ask me, especially on TikTok, like, what do you think about this company or which one do you prefer more than that? And blah, blah, blah. And I've literally never openly like really said anything negative towards any company. I think like a lot of companies have flaws.
Well,
But I
and I
do.
And
Oh,
I
go
think
ahead.
there's some reasons for that, right? Like we have friends that work at those companies. Sometimes those companies suck for a period of time, then they get better, then they suck again, then they're better. Silence, I'm looking at you. But you see these companies like, and you don't want to like burn them out forever, right? I mean, it's kind of hard.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think everybody it should be open to like redemption, and like, like it's kind of like you're like, oh, I hate that company or that company's bad because they had a security breach, which is like different than an ethical problem. But it's like, all right, but they can make changes and like redeem themselves to implement better security practices and things like that. But like Cloudflare specifically, they've kind of had like this really long history, and I know this is like controversial, but they've had a long history of supporting websites that are really dangerous towards people, especially in like marginalized communities. The first thing that I had ever learned about Cloudflare doing this was actually years ago. They were protecting a website that the sole purpose of it was to dox couples that were in like an interracial relationship.
And you got to
Um,
admit, like there's freedom of speech, but then there's also scraping the bottom of the barrel. Like that's
right. I mean, don't get me, there's tons of websites out there that I do not agree with that I think are toxic and bad, but like I've never come out and really said like, oh, this website needs to go away, right? I just like I do understand that you have to have different opinions.
uh-huh.
And you don't have to agree with them, but I think like you have to kind of draw the line once people's lives are in danger.
Mhm.
And when it's like very specific, like targeted harassment towards an individual, whether or not you agree with them or disagree with them, I don't think that's right. Like targeted harassment, or even they've had problems with like illegal photos
Yeah.
being posted and not really taking any action against these websites to take them down, or maybe not keep those websites safe, which is, and like I think that's concerning. I don't agree with it, and I think that it's easy to kind of make those decisions of like, oh well, free speech and I want to protect this website because of like the whole slippery slope argument.
Mhm.
But it's just like, if it was them in that same position that these other people are in, who are being like doxxed constantly, that have to leave their homes, that have to like, just completely change their life because like there's unwell people on the internet,
Yeah.
that like it would be different for them, right?
Yeah.
Like,
And as an owner of a company, I think, I'm somewhat sympathetic to the concept of you really have to be careful picking sides on things, right? And we're kind of not talking tech right now. We're at the end. That's what we do. We do tech at the beginning and then talk philosophy afterwards. Um, and I can kind of understand a little bit from a company like, do we have to police this? But seriously, if someone brings it to your attention, that should be something that you should look into. But even with BHIS through the years, we've had like porn companies, right? And there's
mhm.
been conversations at BHIS about how we feel about that. And then right and left of political spectrums, how do we feel about that? There's a bunch of these different things. But then there's stuff that's not even a gray area, right? Like, like if somebody is like a neo-Nazi type group, I grew up shooting Nazis in Wolfenstein. Like that's the type of house I grew up in. And that matters to me. And then we also had some foreign governments in Southeast Asia that wanted us to help them hunt down or create technologies to hunt down people who are gay in their country. And then they would take care of them. That's not even a line, right? That's not even like, where is the line on that one? So you've got to kind of find those things sometimes. And it's tough as a business, right? Because sometimes you don't know, because these people don't like fill out something and they're like, yep, we're going to be a hate speech site, or we do hate speech. Like that's not how they operate. And it's
Right.
somewhat difficult, but when it's brought to your attention, many times I think you're called to act, or you should be anyway.
Well, and like you have to put yourself in other people's shoes and be empathetic. Like if I like the CEO of Cloudflare was kind of my point, is like if there was a website that his company was protecting that was doing these things to him, do we think that he wouldn't take action against that if it was like, here's pictures of your family and your address, and we're going to show up at your house and we're going to send a SWAT team? And it's like, he absolutely would do something about
And
that.
that's not even a question, right? We have a
Yeah.
couple of questions. Do I let my employees opt out for things like that? Yes. So whenever we got approached by a porn company, there were some employees that felt incredibly nervous about doing that, and that kind of got on their moral problems. And absolutely, if somebody approaches me at BHIS and send Serena on them, somebody approaches me at BHIS and they basically are saying, I feel morally or ethically or religiously uncomfortable with doing something, what kind of ass would I be if I forced them into it? So I think that one of the things that's really good here is we do have conservative people, and we do have people that are very liberal. We have very religious people. We have atheists. We have everything in between. I think for a while we had someone that was Wiccan. And it's just, I think if we can all get along, that's great. But you'd never want to be in a position to where you're forcing someone to do something. And it could be something as simple as social engineering calls and doing physical security assessments that really feels morally repugnant to somebody. And I think that's fine. There's plenty of work to be done here all the way around. And yeah, it's a tough line, but one of the things I think, you can't cross is shoving someone into doing something they don't want to do under any circumstances, just a jackass move.
Yeah.
So.
I would definitely agree with that. And they're for those things, there's easy solutions, right? Like, all right, I understand. And for me, I've never done a physical pen test. I think I would like it, but I can definitely understand how it would come off
I am
rhyming.
totally sending you on one now. We have testers that are just they call me up with a moral existential crisis. This really nice lady was so nice to me and she let me in.
Yeah.
No, you're going now. It's gonna
Well, no, I mean, I definitely understand. You're just trying to pull one over and the poor receptionist who's just doing their, trying to get by. And
but we've had situations where the receptionist was so unbelievably nice. Oh, you forgot your badge? Here, let me in. And okay, I'll let you in. Oh, you don't know your PIN code? Here's my PIN code. Here's my password. You're like, are you for real? You're too nice. Here's some cookies. Damn it. Cookies.
Yeah.
It's hard.
No, it's
right.
wild, but yeah. Thanks for asking.
Right. So one of the things I'm going to say is don't party with those people, right? If you have an opportunity of not partying with those kind of mean people, don't. It should be better if you can do it. All right. So with that, anything else, you two? Or are we ready to wrap it up?
I'm good. It's really pouring down rain.
I'm good. I'm going to go check out some Twitter drama.
So Serena needs to go roll around in the rain.
I'm I saw something in scrolling, and I haven't had a chance to actually catch up on what's actually going on. So,
and by the way, Serena, please do me a favor and wait 10 to 15 minutes before you go rolling around in the water. Otherwise, you'll boil like a lobster because it's been so warm out there. All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye.
And we'll see you next week in the
everyone.
news.
See ya.